what is going on? She's just deleted her Twitter. She's getting called out because it was exposed, because an interview got brought up.
After being exposed in front of the whole league by Caitlin Clark, the president of the Indiana Fever is in a state of complete terror. The criticism is intensifying hourly, and fans are in disbelief.
I'm not joking when I say this. Something's gone weirdly wrong. Like, we literally hired a freaking Chronically Online GM.
Hold on, however. This goes beyond a single news conference or a video that went viral. The story is far more complex. I also have all the information.
I have said before, and I will say it again, Stephanie White, Amber Cox, Kelly Crosscroft, the Indiana Fever president, they were not ready. Now, Christine Brennan in her book confirmed the WNBA and the Indiana Fever did not realize what they were about to get themselves into with drafting Caitlin Clark, because the popularity they weren't prepared for and didn't see coming.
The Indiana Fever's front office just taken a terrible turn, and Caitlin Clark supporters are speaking out. Her own club president is suddenly criticizing the rookie who has been packed stadiums and making the WNBA a must-watch on television. Yes. The fan community was shocked by Kelly Crosscroft's tone-deaf statement. Our goal is for the Fever to resemble Apple. It seems like she's referring to Clark as the iPhone case rather than the iPhone, which is a strange twist. Let's not sugarcoat this. The Fever is significant because of Caitlin. Her presence is what keeps national cameras going and merchandise flying off shelves. However, the team's senior executives seem more concerned in minimizing her influence than in acknowledging that. It didn't sit well with fans. Backlash erupted on social media, exposing the statement for what it was. Simply put, disrespect. Crosscroft then performed a vanishing act. Overnight, her former account disappeared. No explanation, no apology, just gone. As if she recognized she had made a mistake and thought that by logging out, the heat would go away. However, that is too late. Fever fans, like the internet, never forget.
Yes, Stephanie White, every single solitary move that you make is going to be scrutinized. Welcome to it. Right here.
When someone blows up social media during a controversy, you can tell they're feeling the heat. That's exactly what Fever president Kelly Crosscroft did after her now infamous Apple comment about the team went viral, and not in the way she hoped. Supporters didn't hold back. Supporters of Caitlin Clark, the actual motor of the WNBA's present significance, flocked to X like bees on a fallen coke as soon as the video became viral, criticizing Crosscroft for attempting to reduce her to a generic commodity in a business metaphor. Crosscroft's former account was deleted by Friday night. No justification, no declaration, no effort at cleaning, just poof. More was conveyed by that silence than by any PR message. Not only were fans dissatisfied, but they were furious. We're talking about season ticket holders, ardent fans who have been enjoying Fever gear despite losing seasons, and they now feel deceived. The moment they've all been waiting for is being aggressively mishandled by their team's front staff. Even worse, there had been weeks of quiet over Clark's treatment on the court before this. Referees have been knocking her about game after game, pretending as if they forgot to blow their whistles. Even her own president is now unable to recognize her worth without bringing up the brand. Please. The supporters saw straight through it, and their suspicions were further strengthened by Crosscroft's decision to run for the hills. It's now a full-fledged trust issue rather than simply poor publicity. Additionally, the front office of the Fever just ignited the match. Sophie Cunningham followed. But before we get started, please press the like button if you believe Caitlin is being singled out on purpose. If you believe that the referees are blind, please leave a remark. Yes, be sure you hit the subscribe button. From point on, things will only get more chaotic.
If I was a ref, I know I would mess up all the time.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not saying that your job is easy, but when it is a simple call right in front of your face multiple times, what are you doing?
You said just go tomorrow. You're on the Las Vegas Strip. What can the Las Vegas expect from Sophie?
Oh, you know what? I'm just gonna be me. I don't go in there trying to predetermine anything. I'm dialed in. I need to focus on hitting my shots, making sure I'm executing the schemes right. I'm not focused on the extracurricular activities. And you know what? During that, it was just part of the game. I think the refs had a lot to do with that. It was a build-up for a couple of years now of them just not protecting, the star player of the WNBA. And so at the end of the day, I'm going to protect my teammates. That's what I do. And I'm a team player, so it's all good.
Caitlin Clark, the unofficial vice president of Try That on Our Court and You'll Get Dropped, has a bodyguard named Sophie Cunningham. She just used words to set the league on fire. Sophie went all scorched earth on the first episode of her podcast, Show Me Something. Her unvarnished diatribe sounded like it belonged in a Netflix drama. Her objective was not limited to competitors. It was everyone, particularly those who minimized Caitlin Clark's contribution to the league. Not once, not twice, but 3 times, she remarked, "You're literally dumb." The video became viral on YouTube, X, and TikTok. It's the catchphrase of the day, and Sophie understood precisely what she was doing. She does more than simply speak, however. This is the same Sophie who, after Clark's elbow to the face, body-checked a Connecticut Sun player into a different time zone. She didn't care that she was expelled. "I will defend my teammates," she said. "I do that." This is where it becomes more complex, however. Sophie wasn't limited to criticizing opponents or poor officiating. She opened fire on the Indiana Fever, her own team. She asserts that the locker room is the source of some of the actual rudeness shown against Caitlin. Her podcast is being referred to as a declaration of war by team insiders. There is the anxiety that fans have been feeling. The WNBA's cultural war, which pits viral sensations against traditional veterans, isn't exclusive to the league. It's brewing in Indiana itself. Sophie is not here to be polite, either. She's come to blow everything apart.
It wasn't a dirty play. It was an intentional foul, and it was meant to send a message. It turned into a scuffle, and I don't think anybody wanted that. But the way that the game went and how egregious the referees were and how they were not protecting players, and they especially weren't protecting the #1 player in this league, the biggest draw in this league, which is Caitlin Clark, and they continue to not do that. To me, this was not a dirty play. This was making a statement because the referees didn't do their damn job. This would not have happened at the end of the game if the referees did their job during the first play. If the referees did their job, not just the first play, every single play leading up to that. If the referees had control of the game, that is their only job. The referees' first job, their #1 job, is to protect their players.
I get it to a certain extent, and every rookie coming into the league, that's how you're going to treat them. But
Right.
There's just more for her.
Let's simply state it. On the court, Caitlin Clark is being pursued. Elbows, body checks, gouged eyes, and the referee's utter silence. There would be messages, bans, and breaking news alerts if someone touched Steph or LeBron in that manner in the NBA. However, Clark is mugged in the W, and the action continues. Consider Fever versus Liberty on May 24th. Natasha Cloud rams Clark in the middle of a play. In a 2-point game, shoulder down, clear contact. The referees gazed like statues. Clark froze, palms up, asking, "Are y'all serious right now?" without saying anything offensive or responding. In the meanwhile, the Liberties celebrate as the buzzer sounds. Sophie Cunningham was unreserved. She went back to scorched earth and said, "There's just more for her." She was correct. It is now hard to ignore the loud, harsh double standard. This is targeted chaos rather than a formidable defense. There is an implicit motive, as several competitors have discreetly acknowledged. Make her work for it. However, that's code for smashing her before she gets too brilliant. And that's precisely what is taking place. Clark, however, refuses to break. She didn't come to the league for a glorified hazing ritual. She became the dominant one. Sophie is out there throwing shoulders and fire on the mic like it's her full-time job when referees fail to sound the whistle. It's not simply a few poor calls. It's starting to get popular. To be honest, it's beginning to seem like an entire conspiracy is taking place. You are aware that this narrative goes beyond basketball if you are still here. Don't just watch Get in the Mix, then. To keep ahead of the spin, like, comment, and subscribe. The next surprise can appear at any moment.
That we want to sustain the growth and the interest level in the franchise. This is about the Indiana Fever yes, we have a foundational player in Caitlin Clark and Leah Boston, and we're going to continue to add to that. But I want this team to be the leader in the country, and a brand, an enduring brand, like Apple or something. And we have a real opportunity.
In Indiana, things are not going well behind the scenes. And now this is a full-fledged battle rather than just play. On the one hand, business executives are attempting to shape the Fever into a refined Apple-style brand. Conversely, players, supporters, and even opposing coaches are aware of the reality. The brand is Caitlin Clark. Forget about it. This is where it gets chilly, however. Fever. Things went south when President Kelly Krokoff chose to minimize Clark's influence. Enter Sophie Cunningham, who went scorched earth on her own supervisors instead of just disagreeing. And this wasn't a mid-interview emotional blunder. No, not at all. According to insiders, the podcast tirade was prearranged. A deliberate attack after the president's remarks. Sophie did more than simply disparage the WNBA. She used receipts to publicly criticize her own front desk. That's not annoyance. Rebellion is what it is. To be honest, it revealed a serious identity issue inside the series. The Fever already have the focal point, but they still want to establish a dynasty. Additionally, they are behaving as if she poses a danger rather than appreciating her. Now, the squad is divided. Caitlin is seen by some as the future. Others are holding onto power from the past. And you know what? There is no blindness among the supporters. Sophie isn't either. Krokoff isn't either, based on that suddenly erased former account. Let's be honest.
Second, take a look here.
What the WNBA is doing with Caitlin Clark is the equivalent of the NBA doing this to Michael Jordan in 1986. It just doesn't make sense to me. You are biting the hand that feeds you. Mind you, without Caitlin Clark,
Twitter would melt if LeBron James were thrown to the ground after an eye poke. The Sports Center would play it repeatedly. However, Caitlin Clark receives crickets, no whistle, and crunches from the league. Imagine Steph Curry being completely unprotected and getting beaten up game after game. Would the NBA just dismiss it? Absolutely not. However, Caitlin Clark is experiencing just that. She's not a novice. People are watching women's basketball at all because of her. It's all Clark, the sold-out arenas, the ratings. She's the cash cow. She's also being treated as a bench warmer in some way. It was best expressed by Sophie Cunningham. Not acceptable. Coach Stephanie White took over a news conference to criticize the referees for repeatedly ignoring it. It's visible to the supporters. It is seen by the media. However, the league remains mute. This is the unpleasant reality. This league would be bending down if Clark were a guy. Rather, she is being pushed about while the executives on her own team seldom do anything. Sophie is defending her. Her supporters are battling for her. However, those who ought to support her are too preoccupied with politics. Clark is more than simply the future. She's here already. The issue is that the old guard is still behaving as if they are going to be ran over in 2010. This is a reckoning, not just a disagreement. The WNBA's leadership and her own team may be squandering a once-in-a-generation chance, but Caitlin Clark's shine isn't waning. You're either with Sophie Cunningham or you're a complete moron, as she constantly reminds us. And now, the question everyone is asking. What happens next? Because no matter where you stand on this debate, one thing is impossible to deny. Caitlin Clark has become the center of the biggest conversation in women's basketball. Every comment, every foul, every press conference, and every decision made behind the scenes is being watched by millions of fans around the world. What started as a simple basketball story has evolved into something much bigger. It's become a battle over leadership, accountability, respect, and the future direction of the league itself. The Indiana Fever now find themselves at a crossroads. Do they fully embrace the generational superstar who has brought unprecedented attention to the franchise? Or do they continue fighting an uphill battle against a fan base that believes her impact is being ignored? And what about the WNBA? Can league officials afford to keep dismissing the growing concerns surrounding officiating, player protection, and the treatment of the sport's biggest attraction? Because every week that these questions remain unanswered, the pressure only continues to grow. Meanwhile, Caitlin Clark keeps doing what she has always done. She keeps showing up. She keeps competing. She keeps carrying the expectations of an entire fan base on her shoulders while the spotlight becomes brighter than ever before. And perhaps that's what makes this story so compelling. The criticism hasn't stopped her. The controversy hasn't stopped her. The noise hasn't stopped her. If anything, it has only made her stronger. But here's the reality. The next few weeks could change everything. One statement, one interview, one leaked report, one explosive revelation. That's all it takes for this situation to reach an entirely new level. Fans are demanding answers. The media is demanding answers. And the people involved are running out of places to hide. Whether this ends in reconciliation, more controversy, or a complete shake-up behind the scenes, one thing is certain: the basketball world will be watching every second of it. So what do you think? Was this all a misunderstanding that spiraled out of control? Or are we witnessing the beginning of a much larger conflict inside the Indiana Fever and the WNBA? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, because this conversation is far from over. If you thought this was crazy, I assure you that the next update might blow up the internet. Please share your thoughts in the comments section, subscribe, and enable all notifications so you don't miss anything. We'll see you in the next one after you click the video on the screen.